every single week. Well, that's a bit of a myth. So can we bust that myth? Hello everyone, I've got some friends who've come over for a cup of tea and you may know them. This is Susie.
Hi.
And this is Karen.
Hello.
And we got together today and we were brainstorming ideas of how to get people involved in children's ministry. Now that's not always easy, is it? But at the beginning of the year we are always looking for people to come and be involved. So we have come up with, how many ideas?
7.
Yep, 7 ideas. And they're not comprehensive, but we're just going to share with you our thoughts and hopefully it'll help you to start thinking about who you can invite to be part of your ministry. So the first thing that we thought was probably the most important, Susie's going to share it with us.
So prayer. We need to pray. We need to ask God who in our lives that might be involved in our sort of ministry. Pray that openings will happen. Maybe even do a prayer walk around your ministry area so that you can really just hand it all over to God, because after all it is His ministry.
That's exactly right. And for Him to impress people on our hearts.
That's happened to me lots of times. Somebody's stepped out of a certain area and I've really thought, what am I going to do now, God? Okay. And then I've got a list of all the people I've connected with who might be interested in this ministry. And sure enough, I ring one of those people and I said, you know what, I was just looking for something to do in my spare time. And it's like, I don't believe this.
Yes, we do believe it, because there is power in prayer, isn't there?
Absolutely.
So number one, go ahead and pray for your ministry and pray that God would put people on your mind to ask to be involved. And then we were thinking about, what was another one? Oh, Karen, this one's for you. Tell
To
us.
invite people. People won't be involved unless they receive an invitation. And Jesus went out and personally invited people to come along with Him. And we need to do the same. And we've all got friends and family and people at church, in our small group, or just other people we might know, to personally go up and give them the invitation to come along and be involved.
The other thing we were thinking about was putting a note in your church bulletin.
Yeah,
that's right.
That sort of thing.
Or newsletter.
Or newsletter, yeah.
Yes.
Just to, so people will see it, and to do it week after week as you're starting to get your ministry going. So that's important to do as well. So what are some other ways that we can ask people to be involved in your children's ministry? So let's go with that one.
Yeah, we often have functions to help our team, so we invite them to maybe babysit, to help with catering, help with setup and put down, all those little things, or even come along and help with craft or something like that. So those sorts of things that just gives them a little bit of a taste of, this is a pretty positive group to be part of, yet they are helping you in a big way.
Well, Easter and Christmas often have lots of opportunities to invite people along. You might be running bigger programs and you might just need more eyes, another set of hands, and it's just great to be involved. And then once people have seen the work that's in this ministry, they can pray in a more informed way, and I think that's very helpful.
And I find too, God works and it opens their eyes that children are a wonderful area that they can serve.
That's right.
And you get so much back from kids. So there are many different ways that you could possibly ask people to help. Another thing is just by praying for you.
Absolutely.
Asking someone to be your prayer partner for the year and praying.
Yes.
Specifically for
It's
your
really
class
important.
and when you're teaching. That's a huge, important part of being involved.
What about even for some people who maybe want to get involved but they can't because they might have babies or children? Perhaps somebody else could babysit for them.
Yeah.
So that you might even be able to swap. That you could do some ministry, 1 week, and another mother, you could look after her children, and she could do it another week or another time.
Yeah. I remember when I had my first child and I was teaching some classes, and a young adult from our home group said, hey, I'll look after your baby while you go and teach. And she would actually meet me there, and she would just go for a walk pushing the pram while I went and taught class. And I just remember that was such a ministry to me, that I could actually still be involved in what I was doing, and she would just go for a walk, and she enjoyed the walks, and I think of her often for what she did for me.
I had the same experience myself.
Did you?
Yes, me too.
Or similar.
Yeah, it was a wonderful blessing.
Well, we're no longer in those baby stages.
No,
Yes.
But,
Grandparents?
fourth little idea that we were talking about was to come and see. So how do we get people to come and see? They may not be ready to teach anything. How do we do that?
Well, I think sometimes people are scared when you say that there's a need to have more people involved in kids ministry, and they may think that if they express an interest that they'll be given a class first up. So we need to make it clear that we're not going to put people who without training and without prior experience to have the responsibility of running a class. That would just be wrong.
Yeah.
So it's great to come along and see, and perhaps they have some barriers in their mind, preconceived barriers that actually aren't right and don't exist, and perhaps over the course of time when they come and have a look, they could see that perhaps it might be for them, or maybe for someone else they might know, or they can just be a helper and not just, it's a very important role.
That's right.
Assistant, yes.
And that brings us to the next point. But depending on your ministry, your church, or your organization, you might need to have some requirements or things in place before you can go into the situation. So make sure you check that out. But we're talking about now the helper sort of thing. What does that mean, being a helper? What would that involve?
Well, it could be different for different people,
Yeah.
but just having another person in the classroom or in the building where you are, praying, helping with handing out books, helping with activities, even just a word of encouragement with the children. Or if a helper's got specific skills like leading songs or whatever like that, they could easily just take the parts that they're comfortable with. So initially, if I have an assistant with me, they just really observe. And they're just that second person walking around the classroom, giving positive smiles. Nothing very hard at all. And then they might grow and do the things that they're comfortable with.
Yeah, absolutely. It's important not to be prescriptive, because each of us have got different gifts to bring to this ministry, and it may simply be being there, and it may progress to something more in time. But it's up to the person themselves as to what they feel comfortable with and how God has gifted them.
That's right. And sometimes I've got a group of boys maybe mucking up at the back of the room. And I just asked my helper, can you just go stand behind them? And that actually works really well. Or even sitting on the story time, just sitting near the kids that are kind of mucking up. That is really, really helpful. It's like one of the number one helpful things for me. The other thing is recently our church is growing and we're getting lots and lots of kids in the program, and we just don't have enough hands to look after all the gorgeous little bodies. And we just need someone to come and just be an extra hand, be an extra adult to help show them where to go, or help with a craft or that sort of thing. So I really am enjoying being a helper in that context, and we need many more. Okay, so please don't think just because you're not teaching the Bible lesson that you're not, that you're not fit for this ministry. There are so many things that you can help out with, and being a helper is number one. I just love it. And the other thing that actually happened to me is one year I had a friend from my Bible study group, and I asked her just to be a helper. I remember throughout the year she said, I'm really happy being a helper, because I asked, do you want to actually take a lesson? Or, oh no, I'm happy being a helper. And then later as the year went on, we needed someone to fill in, and she stepped up and she actually taught the actual Bible lesson, and she felt really good about it, and it really raised her confidence, and she realized, I can do this. And what I realized what was happening was I was actually just pre-training her. And giving her confidence that it's really not that difficult, and now that person actually teaches lots of classes on her own. This past year is taking on more classes this year, and her whole intention was, Susan, I'm happy being a helper. That was her intention. But God works. Yeah, that's right. And God equips us and helps us to actually go beyond what our own thinkings are, isn't it?
It takes time.
So it does.
And it's lovely if there's a child there who something might have happened during the week, like a pet's died or something, and you just don't have time to actually spend that time listening to that child and just affirming them. And the helper could just sit down beside them and just have that little conversation, a little prayer, and and that child's needs been met, which you can't do that when you've got a bigger group.
That's exactly right. And there are so many occasions like that. I was in children's ministry, they want to tell you everything.
Oh, yes.
Everything. And you guys know that too.
Yeah.
Even shoelaces sometimes too.
Shoelaces,
Yeah.
The other thing that I wanted to talk about was, it was kind of a myth, and that is with timing and how much time you have to give to a ministry that you might think is fully all year long, every single week. Well, that's a bit of a myth. So can we bust that myth?
Absolutely. People have an idea, I think, that in children's ministry that you have to be female and without children yourself. It's not, and be able to commit to a whole year, and it's not the case at all. Perhaps week on, week off might be a good idea. Perhaps you could commit to one term, and maybe you're going to go overseas during the course of the year and think that therefore you can't be involved at all, or you're going to go into state to help with your grandchildren. You can still be involved and just commit to one term, perhaps one semester or a half year, and maybe somebody else can do the other half of the year. Maybe no one will be there to take the other half of the year. But it's just to be involved for whatever you're able to do.
That's exactly right. And I find that in most ministries, children's ministries, if you let them know ahead of time that you're going to be away, then that's okay. That's okay to say, you know what, I'm not going to be here for the month of May, because I'm going on a cruise.
Yes.
I mean, a lot of my friends are going on cruises. Yes, they're empty nesters. I'm not there yet, but anyway. And so they think, oh, I can't commit, And I think, no, we'd love you to be involved when you're in town.
Yes.
And if you just give enough advance notice, then yes, you can be involved, and we can organize and coordinate and make sure that that everyone knows when you're there and when you're not there. Because I know we all like to commit to a year,
We do.
don't we?
Yeah.
That's right.
I mean,
And sometimes I've noticed that people, I've got in one of our teams, we've got a father and a daughter, and they co-teach this particular class. So when he can do it, he does it. When she can do it, she's got 4 children, she homeschools, he's got a company, but between them, it's their class. So that works well. And another thing we're looking for is, for those people who have committed, but they're going to be away, relief instructors.
yes,
So that
people who are willing to fill in.
That's a great point.
just so that if you have part-time work or shift work or whatever, you can be rung and say, well, today we've got a vacancy, are you available? And you can say yes, or you can say no.
That's right.
And so just another option out there that still helping the team, helping it all work out, but it's not that big commitment of the whole year or the whole semester.
And then our final little thing we wanted to cover was training.
Yes.
And this is the training queen.
I don't know about that, but I can see the need. That's why we've instigated training every term. It's not just about the training, actually, although that is an element of it. It's good to get different skills and update it and learn different ideas, as much from each other as it is from the trainer. But there's something about a group of like-minded people getting together and just sharing, being part of the blessings that God's put in our life, doing the ministry we're doing. Instead of being, in some ministries, you feel like you're the weary warrior, nobody even knows you're doing, once a year you might get a pat on the back.
Yeah.
And not that it's about that, of course, but it is about being a part of a team. And sharing, you share ideas. Susan has all the technical stuff. Different people have different ideas, and not that we never want to be intimidated that we can't do it, but we do pick up ideas. I love it every training. It's usually if it's the trainer or somebody else. Oh, look, I tried this. I did this nativity scene, or I used these Easter eggs, and you think, and sometimes you even know it, but you just haven't done it for a few years.
And you just need a reminder.
You do.
A reminder of that idea.
Yes.
Yeah. Or you borrow they've got those particular
Materials,
resources, and you borrow them because everyone's very happy to share.
Yeah.
So it is really important. And there's lots of trainings. There's different websites that'll show when the training of your particular ministry is on, so that if it doesn't suit you in your local area, you might go into Brisbane or Toowoomba or the Sunshine Coast or wherever you happen to be all around the world, so that you can link in and I suppose we've got to be the best we can for Jesus.
We can. Yeah, that's exactly
None of us are
right.
perfect, but we're always growing and learning and sharing.
And we need to be learners, and be willing to learn and to get new skills. I
Absolutely.
mean, I have been a teacher for a long time, professional and volunteer. And every time I go to a training, I come away with a new idea. And you know, I love ideas. And it just spurs me on, like you said. It's the community of people.
Sharpen one another.
We do.
Iron
We
sharpens
do.
iron.
Yeah.
Yes,
So, and also you can go to trainings without being in the ministry yet. So if you,
Yes.
I
Yeah.
know of someone who felt that she couldn't be involved in kids ministry. It just wasn't for her, but sees how important it is and supports kids ministry through prayer. And so she came to a training session once just so that she could pray in a more informed ways. And that was so helpful and encouraging to me. And I know that she continues to pray for our work.
isn't that
Yeah,
awesome?
no, that's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, we have talked just 7 little tips or 7 little ideas. I know there's much more outside of this. If you know of some things, can you please put that in the
Please.
comments?
Yes, we might learn something.
We do.
Always, yeah.
And we'd love for you. There's also another way you can get training. I know a good channel.
Yes, right ideas for Susan.
But anyway, thanks so much for joining us. And thank you, Karen, and thank you,
Thank
Susie,
you.
for
Thank you,
doing this little
Susie.
filming and helping me with this little Q&A. And I just hope that you found it really helpful. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.